Good afternoon. I'm John Wang, a second-generation Chinese American. First off, I'd like to thank the Students for Fair Admissions for fighting for our rights, and the Asian American Coalition for Education for giving me a platform to share my experiences. Woo! As an applicant of Harvard University last year, I'd say I was a pretty solid student athlete. I got a 1590 on the SAT, had a 4.65 GPA, was a Florida State Quiz Bowl champion, and was ranked 180th in my class on the Rolex Junior Golf Rankings. I'm not going to sit here and complain about how I'm a victim, but I just want to point out a few inconsistencies. Colleges say that Asians aren't personable, that we don't have passion for what we do, that we simply do what our parents tell us to. But at least from my experience, this is simply not true. I trained very hard, putting my sweat and sometimes tears into the game of golf, because I wanted it, not because someone told me to. In fact, I cared so much that I began studying golf stats, eventually creating a data analytics app to help me and other junior golfers identify our weaknesses and determine what to practice. The best part of it all is that when I was being recruited for a program, I was told that I can't major in computer science and play collegiate golf at the same time. Turns out, they don't care about passion. What universities like Harvard really want is to hit their numbers on demographics, limit Asian American acceptance, and lock us into a rat race. They trot out their diversity slogans to defend this policy, but do they really care about African and Latino Americans, or do they have some other ulterior motive? You don't need a tinfoil hat to see that this looks a lot like the Jewish quotas of the 1920s. I think this is the tip of the iceberg of a larger problem plaguing the Asian American community. We're easy to pick on, and we don't stand up to ourselves. We don't stand up for ourselves, just like the Jews used to be. So what did they do to rise up? They became more represented in government.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
And took over the legal and banking systems.
No, we feel very shame what's going on there, especially they're doing everything in our name. In the name of Jews, in the name of the Torah, in the name of God. It's so shameful.
Because at the end of the day, money and power do a lot more talking than statistics and debate. Like the Jews, we need to fight for every right we deserve. I strongly support SFFA's cause, not just because it benefits me, but because, as MLK said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
It's so shameful.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Wait a second. You're saying because you didn't get into Harvard or an Ivy League university that it's now time for Asians to rise up like the Khazars, like the Khazars, the Khazarians, and take over other Caucasian financial institutions and collegiate institutions? You're saying because you in America by Caucasians are viewed as weak, soft, and malleable, so to say, pussy when it comes to different minorities. Wait a second, I thought you guys were respected by white people because how submissive you were and how peaceful you were and how unargumentative you were. That's always been a lie. And now you want to rise up like the Jews and take over financial institutions in the United States because you did not get into Harvard. Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. Come on, man. All right, so recently there's a story that came out about a Chinese man, an Asian man, that attempted to apply to some pretty high-level schools, some pretty big-name schools, and he did not get in, and he ended up blaming affirmative action for it.
So shameful.
John Wang, I have a question for you. Who are all these people walking around college campuses in America that don't deserve to be there? Who? Who is it? What group of people? Tell me right now, I want the truth. According to you guys, you affirmative action motherfuckers, according to you guys, you tell us that there's a bunch of people walking around college campuses that do not belong there, that are there strictly because of the color of their skin or because white people feel bad for them. I would like to know who these people are. Is it the East Indians? Is it the people from the Middle East? Is it Latinos and people from Mexico and South America and Argentina and all those places like that? No, it has to be the Asian, right? It has to be the Asians. Is it the South Korean? I don't know. Maybe it's the Japanese that are coming to American schools that don't belong here, that are just not that smart and that are walking around college campuses because they just need to see a different face. This school went all the way over to their country and told them, hey, we need some of your people. They don't have to be smart. They don't have to do anything to get into our school. They just have to walk around and be Chinese. They just have to walk around and be black. We just need a black face walking up and down the campus. Where do they do this at? Because that's what you're saying. You're saying that affirmative action equals this. Equals people that do not deserve to be at a school going to that school. Now, when John Wang does not get into this high-level schools of Harvard, of Harvard, Princeton, Caltech, MIT, Berkeley, and he immediately blames affirmative action, essentially what he's saying is, wait a second, I'm Asian. I applied to Harvard and all these schools and I did not get in. I got rejected. Why the hell are all these black people walking around this campus then? That's essentially what he said. You didn't make it because you weren't good enough. And instead of working on yourself, instead of looking at yourself like you should have been for the last 18, 19 years of your life, saying, I'm really not that well-rounded of a person. I'm going to walk into this college campus and they're going to look at me like, oh God, another one of these guys, another one of these typical Asian dudes that come here, think that they immediately deserve to get in, are bring nothing culturally, are low-key closet racist, and so are their parents. They don't really dive out into any other culture. They're not going to bring any excitement to our school, any way, shape, or form. If anything, they're going to be awkward, quiet, and weird and spend most of their time by themselves. They don't look at that. They're not going for that. They're not going for that. Why is it that you bring up affirmative action because you didn't make it into school, but you don't bring up the thousands of cases of Caucasians and Asians and other people from other countries coming here and cheating, or cheating in their home countries to get the grades to get into American high-level schools like Harvard and Yale? You don't say that. You don't look at the other Asians that go to these schools and say, I wonder who their parents are. I wonder if some of these kids that are going to this school, parents made a wealthy donation, a substantial donation to the school that might finish building a library, that might finish building a parking lot on the west wing of the school. You don't say that. That's not the first thing you think of. The first thing you think of is, wait a second, I couldn't get into this school, but there's a bunch of black people walking around the campus. How did that happen?